Hey everyone, Carmel here. As I was setting up, I actually realized that I've been so MIA and we've gotten so many new members since I've been MIA that maybe a lot of you actually don't know who I am. And we used to do these videos all the time. I used to be in everybody's face constantly, but things have kind of calmed down and we're hoping to pick it back up where we're doing more group engagement stuff and we're starting to get these videos back out there fresh with new information that we've come up with since we originally started the group. And I wanted to start with this video because I think this is the absolute most important one to get out there. If you've been a long-term member, then you've heard me say before in the past that my belief as far as DNFs go was that the number one reason people DNF 100s is overpacing, and I actually no longer believe that. I have now run the distance 18 times. I don't have 18 official hundreds, but I've run the distance 18 times. I think I have 16 or 17 official hundreds now. And I have crewed in large numbers. Rim to River, we crewed many women from our group, and that was one of the most interesting and educational experiences that I've had. I learned so much out there, including that I don't need to be crewing. I'm way too much of an empath. Can't say it. I have too much empathy. Like, I was more emotional crewing than I would be for my own 100. And in my last 100, a fly made me cry, if that tells you anything. I was like, why are you doing this to me? Just go. But it bit me, so, I mean, I feel like that is kind of an excuse. But anyway, now, with my new experience, I have changed my mind, and I believe that the number one reason people DNF 100s is actually low salt. I truly believe this, and I feel like this gets affirmed now for me at every single ultra that I go to. And we're having a great discussion about that right now in the comments of one of the posts, but obviously these comments could get missed, and it's just reminded me that we really need to hit this home, because we've touched on it, but I don't think we've touched on it hard enough for as much as we do harp on it. So I want to take a look here and show you this. Okay, so right here we have 3 different forms of salt. And in front of each form, we have what 600 milligrams look like. 600 milligrams of sodium. So obviously the electrolyte caps have different electrolytes in them too, and then to the right we have just pure pink salt. But we're specifically talking about sodium right now, and we'll get back to that in a minute here. When we're talking about sodium, this is what 600 milligrams of sodium looks like in the chewable form. In the cap form, this is what 600 milligrams of sodium looks like. And pink salt, we just have a quarter little teaspoon right here, 600 milligrams of salt. Okay, so this is why, this is one thing we really want to point out here, because what I see a lot, I see people crash and burn on course, and I, say, do you need salt? I have salt. I have some loose salt. And be like, no, I have fast chews. I had a fast chew. I'm not low on salt. That's not what this is. And they're like head in their hands on a log, dry heaving, and they're like, yeah, it's just not my day. My body's just not feeling it today. And it's like, no, you're low on salt. You're low on salt. But they're like, I had a fast chew. No. So let's take a look. We're gonna do some label reading here, all right? And again, right now, we're gonna talk about sodium. Sodium, let's start over here actually. We have 250 milligrams of sodium in one capsule in the cap form, okay? If you look at this, you have to pay attention to the serving size too here. We have 100 milligrams of sodium in 2 tablets, right? Okay, so we have half the sodium as we do here, but this is 2 tablets and this is 1. And so what that actually means is that you're gonna need 4 of those in place of 1 of these. Now really, you should be taking in theory, we're gonna get to this again in a second. In theory, you would want about one of these an hour, and more than that if it's a really hot race or you're a really heavy sweater, okay? That means that if you're using chews instead, you're gonna have to take about 4 to 8 of these. Like, so 4 of them an hour, but then if it's hot or you're a heavy sweater, you're gonna have to take more of these. Are you gonna be able to do that every hour for the course of a full 100? And this is what I said in the comments. Bless your beautiful GI if you could do that. I would not be able to do that. I would vomit. That would not be enjoyable for me. If you could do that, okay, go ahead and do that. Take those. But now here's the problem. Let's say you underestimate the salt, which all of us do. You don't know how your body's going to sweat on a given day. You don't know how the temperature, humidity is going to affect things. Like, you have to pay attention for the signs that you're low on salt. What are those signs? Frequent clear urination. That seems really counterintuitive. A lot of people think they're overhydrating or oversalting when they get that. But as you could look up in Lee's video where she explains it, your body's actually trying to dump water to keep the same percent because you don't have enough sodium. It's trying to dump the water to keep the same percentage of sodium in your blood and not have too much water. So Lee's the medical person. She could explain that better to you. Just to know that frequent clear urination is actually a sign that you're low on salt. Nausea, dry heaving, or just feeling overall sluggish. If I feel any of these things, I'm going to assume I'm behind on salt. If I'm feeling like I'm pretty behind on salt, what I usually do is we use the Himalayan Peak salt. This right here is a 1/4 teaspoon, and I will take up to a 1/4 teaspoon of this to get myself right away. And this absorbs in loose salt form. This absorbs immediately, especially if you put this in Coke. We're huge fans of salted Coke. If you could get to the aid station, mix this in with a Coca-Cola and down it, you're gonna feel so much better very quickly, right? To get this right here, get this amount, that's where you're having to take all 12 of these. So you're telling me, the fast chews, the people who are exclusive fast chews enthusiasts, right? You're telling me that you're not feeling good, you're dry heaving, you're behind on salt, you're telling me you're gonna eat this handful of salt chews. If you could do that, again, by all means, go for it, but I just can't see that working for a lot of people. Like, you're already not feeling well, you're already in a state where it's hard to put in calories because you don't want to chew on things. So that's the issue I have with these, but as far as I know, there's not issues absorbing. The problem with these is that basically just more and more things are pointing to the fact that because of the funky stuff your GI is going to be doing in 100, when you're taxing your body the way you are, and when you are getting behind on salt, is basically your GI system starts to shut down to a degree. It has trouble breaking down these pills, and the research is pointing to the fact that these really don't do much good. Particularly, we already knew these don't do any good if you're already behind on salt, because one of the first things that starts to lose some blood flow when you're behind on salt is your GI system, right? So these are just gonna, your stomach's basically closing up, locking this in, and this is just gonna be kind of sitting there, right? So you're not gonna feel the effects of this, not anytime soon. So if you're already to the point where you're dry heaving, you're not feeling well, you're sluggish, you're having frequent urination, and you take one of these, it's not going to absorb until you get your salt better. So you could take 5 of these, you could take 10 of these. You're not going to feel the effects. That's where this loose salt really comes in, because immediately this is going to start to absorb. As soon as you're putting it in your mouth, that's going to start to absorb. You're going to have more immediate effects. Now, what I've been doing is a combination of, I'm going to take the pink salt to fix now, and I'm going to take a salt cap at the same time to fix later, in the hope that I'm getting my salt back up with the pink salt, and hopefully my GI kicks back in and this absorbs properly, right? I'm not 100% sure that's the best way to go. Lee's starting to question that, and she's going 100% pink salt. I don't know if I'm going to go 100% pink salt. For now, I'm going to keep using these in combination with the pink salt. But I just wanted to point out these things here. Now, I said we were gonna come back to this part. What about other electrolytes? Like sodium's not the only electrolyte. Correct, you are. It's not, but sodium is the one that depletes rapidly during exercise. Your other electrolytes don't deplete rapidly during exercise. They are going to deplete over the course of your 100, and you do need to make sure that you get these other electrolytes. But why are we not harping on them? Because you don't lose them as quickly, and they're easier to replace. You could get them from, you know, if they're easier to replace with aid station food, a cup of Tailwind or Roctane, that sort of thing. So you do have to keep your other electrolytes up. There's just not as much risk of those tanking like there is for sodium, and so that's why we harp on the sodium and not the other electrolytes. But if you are going 100% pink salt route, then yes, you do want to make sure that somewhere in there you're getting those other electrolytes from something, even if it's just very sparingly, occasionally having a Roctane or a Tailwind or another bless your GI if you could do it, heed. I swear they're gonna sue me eventually, but anyway, that is what I wanted to chat about, because I really think that a lot of hundreds are going south because of this. I think so many people just cannot comprehend, they just cannot even begin to wrap their head around how much salt you actually need to be putting in during 100, especially during these summer months. And I am telling you, I've watched so many races this summer alone go south because of salt. So don't let it happen to you. I came back out to say, if you missed it, previously, the way we carry the pink salt is in these jewelry bags. These are little jewelry bags that you could get at pretty much any craft store, and this is how we've done it in the past. However, we're not buying any more of these. We are trying to have much more eco-friendly drop bag planning and race planning in general. And so I am looking for solutions. Please feel free to reach out, message me. This was something that I tried to put the salt in. I thought I could just reuse race after race. It's a little bit too small. I had this other, I thought it was sitting over here. Oh, here it is. This is another thing I've now tried. This actually, a razor came in this, a new razor for, you know, shaving. And I thought, oh, this will be perfect. I'll put my salt in here, but it is actually a little bulky. So we are looking for friendlier solutions so that we don't have to buy any more plastics. We're going to continue to try over the next year or so to make all of our race planning and drop bag stuff, everything, just no single-use plastics, or as little as possible on the single-use plastics. So reach out if you have any ideas for something that's not too bulky. And also, just one more thing on this. So I talked about when I'm behind on salt, I'll do about 1/4 teaspoon. If I'm not behind, I'll just do like a little pinch every hour or so. One of the awesome things about the loose salt is you could taste it. Usually, if this has no taste during 100, very often this will have no taste to me. And so you need to keep putting in salt until it starts to taste salty again. So you kind of learn over time how to do this by taste, and that can tell you how much you get a feel for it.